My name is Movie Junkie John, and today we're here to talk about Creep 1 and Creep 2. Let's jump into it. So, the Creep series has been around since 2014. They are all directed by, and when I say all, I mean Creep 1, Creep 2, and the Creep tapes. All of these have been directed by Patrick Brice. And in the first Creep, Patrick Brice actually plays Aaron, who ends up being the unfortunate victim of the lead character Joseph, played by Mark Duplass. The Creep series is very interesting because it plays into this idea of, you know who the killer is, you know what this guy's doing, but how can he trick these people into not knowing what's actually going on until it's too late? In Creep 1, basically, is the start of it all. You have two characters. You have Mark Duplass, you have Patrick Brice. Patrick Brice is playing a guy named Aaron, who's basically like a freelance videographer. He gets a request from Craigslist to video this guy, played by Mark Duplass, who's playing someone named Joseph. And the story that Joseph gives him is basically that he's got terminal cancer, his wife's pregnant with a baby, and he's wanting to film videos of himself for his baby to watch in the future after he's long gone. Now, this is kind of playing off the idea of that movie My Life with Michael Keaton, which I think was the idea is this character, although he has sinister plans, he's trying to pull this guy in bit by bit just so he can agree to film him the whole day and stay there. So it's pretty clear that Joseph's a weird guy in the movie. He does constant things to trick Aaron. He's constantly trying to scare him. He has a wolf mask that he wears and he puts on, and he's very creepy with that. So there's a lot of signs in this movie that obviously something is not going to go well. What I found interesting about this movie is that Joseph is basically playing a character the entire movie. You know that Joseph, aka Mark Duplass, is a killer by the end of it. But as you rewatch the movie, you realize he's playing this character, and you notice subtleties where maybe he forgot that he was supposed to be this person. For instance, there's a part of the movie where Aaron and Joseph go hiking. Afterwards, they go to like a diner to eat food. And Joseph says, "Oh, I used to come to this diner all the time with my family." As they get to the diner, though, you realize that Joseph forgets the ruse because he's looking at the menu and Aaron goes, "Oh, what's good here? The pancakes, right?" And Joseph goes, "Pancakes." So he's like, "Oh, right, pancakes." And it's pretty clear that he forgot for a minute, "Oh shit, I'm this guy. I'm playing this person. Aaron doesn't know this." So it's one of those glimpses in the movie where you can actually see like the person that Joseph actually is, like breaking, forgetting that he's playing this game and then being snapped back into it. Thought that was kind of interesting. Obviously, this movie does not go well for Aaron, right? He videos Joseph, things go wrong. If you've seen this movie, you know that they have a confrontation. Joseph's got the wolf mask on, he runs out. He then proceeds to get stalked and harassed by Joseph. He gets videos, tapes sent to him. He gets a baby wolf sent to him. He's even invited to meet him in a public place. Now, obviously, at the end, unfortunately, Aaron does meet his demise. He goes to meet Joseph. Joseph comes behind him, sneaks up on him, hits him with the axe, kills him. And in an interesting twist to the movie, at the very end, you actually see Joseph turn the camera around as he's showing this in footage, and he's basically breaking down what Aaron did wrong. He's like, "Hey, you know, you came and you went to a public place. That was smart. But you never turned around even once to see what was behind you. Why didn't you do that?" And it's almost like he's playing to this idea of making fun of how stupid people are. Like, you knew I was dangerous. You knew I was creepy. I sent you these videos. I obviously showed obsessive behavior. Yet you still came along and now you're dead. Kind of an interesting play on the killer, this idea that it's a cat and mouse, but it's also making fun of how gullible and nice people are. So yeah, I thought the first one, just because of that, was so legendary. And you have no idea where this is going until the end of the movie. You know, obviously Joseph's up to no good, but you really don't know the depths of how bad it is until the very end. And then you realize, oh shit, this guy's basically a serial killer. As it uncovers at the end, you see tapes behind him. And that was the later premise of, course, the Creep tapes. But you realize, wow, this guy's done this a lot. Creep 2 is very similar to Creep 1 in that you have two characters. You have Mark Duplass playing Joseph, or actually he's playing Aaron in this one. He takes the name of Aaron from the first one. He does not go by Joseph. So you see that he kills someone, takes their identity, moves forward. He meets someone named Sarah, who's actually doing another video series, basically documenting people. The difference here is that he's admitting he's a killer. He's actually telling her up front, I am a serial killer. This is what I'm doing. I want you to document this. So at first, I feel like she doesn't believe him. I think she thinks that he's crazy, he's eccentric. He tries to scare her just like in the first one with Aaron. He tries to jump out and scare the Sarah person. It doesn't work though. She's not buying it. In fact, the opposite. She actually pegs him and scares him. Throughout the entire movie, there's these setups where he's going to scare her, he looks for her, and then in fact, she turns it around on him and scares him. It's kind of funny. This one is very unique in that in the first one, you didn't know he was a killer. In the second one, you know he's a killer. You know what he's up to. You don't know what his end game is with this girl, but this girl will not actually believe that he's a killer. So it's this weird situation of he's being completely honest to her, but she's just totally not believing anything he's saying. And by the end of it, you kind of get this feeling that maybe there's this romantic thing between the two of them. What's hard to place in the film is the intentions of Aaron / Joseph, Mark Duplass's character. Is he playing a game? Does he want to get closer to her? Does he care about her? Is this all just a setup to kill her? It's kind of a hard thing to answer because the ending is very ambiguous. So at the end of this movie, he actually has a plan to where he wants her to kill him on camera, right? There's a setup that happens, things go wrong. Basically, he tries to kill himself. She stops him. Then she gets attacked by him. It's this whole thing. There's a struggle. She hits him in the head with a shovel, and you assume that he dies, and she runs away. But at the very end of the movie, you find her in daily life. Someone is filming her from afar. You see her walking down the street, and then you see her on like a subway train, and at the very end, you see zooming in on her face, someone, and then she looks at the camera, and you can see kind of a smirk, and then the film ends. It really begs the question of, did Joseph survive? Were Joseph and her in cahoots with one another? Did this whole thing end up being like a kind of like a weird meet cute where a serial killer meets like a normal girl and they fall in love? It's very odd. It also doesn't let you know whether or not the video was filmed before or after the end of the movie. I think it's just very fascinating, the sort of the vagueness of the series and how they put these things in. It's hard to ever know exactly where they're going with these things, but I think it's very fascinating that in this one you have a girl basically who is completely not scared of the protagonist until the very end of the film. But you don't really know the protagonist's real intentions, right? In the first movie, his intention was to kill Aaron. It was a game. In this film, you think, is his intention to kill Sarah? Or is his intention just to play along with her and see what happens? Or is his intention just to fall in love? Maybe he's lonely. Maybe he's having second thoughts about things. It's kind of interesting to ask these questions because the truth is, with Mark Duplass' character, you never truly know where he stands with anything, whether or not he's actually being honest about anything, whether he's playing a game or a ruse. You really never get a lot of insights into his character. Overall, Creep 1 and 2, really great movies. Each one of them I would probably give a 4 out of 5. I think they're awesome. And I highly recommend checking out the Creep tapes on Shudder. And I do plan to do reviews on those in the future. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next go-round. Later.